Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. Time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And for those of you who like these videos, remember to click like down below to offset those dislikes. If you haven't subscribed, remember to subscribe and click that little bell for notifications so you can ring my bell, baby. But today, I thought I would chat a little bit about some of the aftermath of this whole SARMageddon project. Based upon a point, one of my regular viewers, who again himself a legitimate lifter, an enhanced lifter, but he is legitimately jacked and strong, he had some comments on it. So let me put on my +5 hat of speechcraft and let's talk about this, because he raised a good point. The way these products are marketed with the SARMs lately, they're being marketed as a legal side effect free alternative to anabolics, right? That's what they're being marketed as. But they are just anabolics. They're just anabolics that work through a slightly different, and not really that different, pathway through the body. The actual mechanism by which they stimulate growth actually is the same. It's just the way that they get to that is slightly different. And what do we mean? Well, what are they? They're selective androgen receptor modulators. The androgen receptor is activated in muscle tissue by testosterone, and that's kind of how it causes muscle growth, right? That is your starting point. SARMs activate the same receptor in the muscle tissue that testosterone does or any other anabolic, right? It is the same thing in that regard. Now, the idea is that they are supposed to be side effect free, and they are being marketed that way, and people are buying them from people saying, oh, well, it's just like weaker gear, but without the side effects. But it's not any different. In regards to that, and people say, well, what do you mean? Well, what were anabolics designed to do? I mean, look back medically. Let's look at the medical research and the medical idea in the pharmaceutical industry, right? Big pharma. Why did they develop these products? Because testosterone has side effects, right? Testosterone causes muscle growth, a primary male sex hormone. It causes muscle growth. It has side effects. And the amount you take, it can be pretty serious side effects. And what was it that they wanted out of these substances? Did they want to replicate the muscle growth of a normal, healthy male? No, they wanted to exceed that. And they knew that that was dose dependent, right? If you tripled somebody's testosterone levels above 3 times what a 20-year-old has, they gain muscle even without lifting weights. They gain muscle laying in the hospital bed. For medical purposes, that's a miracle. Do you understand that? For someone who is bedbound and bedridden, that's a miracle, but that has a lot of side effects. So they developed these products so that women could use them, so that children could be given these things. Like you get a child who's a burn victim. They're in a hospital bed. You understand that they go through muscle wasting, and you need to understand, they're already going to have potential issues for life just from being a burn victim. As a little child, right? The muscle loss is going to make it worse. In fact, they could very easily die just from the muscle atrophy that happens. That could contribute to their mortality. So anything that's going to keep that child healing and keep muscle tissue on them is life-saving. These are life-saving substances in the medical world. They save lives. So they develop certain things. A perfect example, Anavar, one of the mildest anabolics ever. That's what it was designed for, was for children with serious muscle wasting. You think about how mild that is in terms of side effects that they're giving it to children. They're not giving them testosterone. A lot of women use this substance. It's also very expensive. Very expensive even when people go get it on the black market. It's one of the most expensive substances there is. Milligram per milligram. And it's actually fairly weak, but it works really, really well because it's a low side effect, but it's not side effect free. Right? It doesn't have androgenic side effects. It has side effects. Okay, it does have side effects, but in terms of its ability to take like visceral body fat off, has been found in studies. Like it takes visceral body fat off men, it stays off. It's like permanent in some cases. Well, a lot of these substances create visceral fat. It seems to remove it in clinical trials, and it seems to be long term. That visceral fat that it burns off of men seems to stay off in these middle-aged men. It's unique while building muscle tissue. It doesn't cause secondary male characteristic issues. It doesn't boost estrogen. It doesn't do any of this stuff, right? But it has some side effects. But it's mild. That's what it was developed for. Because it doesn't bind to all the androgen receptors in the body. Nandrolone's the same way. Nandrolone is effectively a SARM. Okay, I'm not saying it's identical to the modern SARMs, but it's a SARM. It's a selective androgen receptor modulator. It binds to the androgen receptors in muscle tissue, bone tissue, stuff like that, but not all the other tissues in the body. It doesn't bind the same way that some things do to like the prostate and the scalp and stuff like that, right? It's selective. It's tissue specific. That's a SARM. And it puts a lot of muscle on people. In fact, they give it to AIDS patients, and it's phenomenal. Best thing they've ever developed for them. So you have these substances that are there. Well, SARMs are just trying to take the same thing. SARMs were developed with the idea is a new experimental thing to replace anabolic steroids in the medical world. They're not intended to be weaker. They are just hoping that we can get rid of some of the other side effects, because anabolics didn't remove all of the androgenic side effects no matter what they did. They still had some, and they still have side effects in general that are secondary. Well, it turns out SARMs do too, and people will say, well, are you saying that, what's the difference? They're just like milder anabolics. Like, in other words, SARMs, a lot of them are very similar in their strength ratios and stuff to something like Anavar, or a lot of other oral anabolics are quite similar. And if you guys don't understand, look how many people are out there selling them who are telling people, oh yeah, take 10 milligrams, they start at 10, take 20 milligrams a day of this. And people are getting gains on this. Compare that to something like testosterone. If you went to your medical doctor, because I'm not advocating anyone break the law, and they prescribed a legal prescription for, say, 140 milligrams of testosterone a week, that's 20 milligrams a day. Okay, 20 milligrams of a SARM times 7 is 140. You know, 140 milligrams of testosterone is going to put very, very, very little muscle on you. It may not put a measurable amount more upon you than you have right now if you have a healthy testosterone level, just by going on that from your doctor. It may not give you any muscle. It might give you a small amount of muscle. So you guys telling me that the SARM is different? If you gained any muscle off of 20 milligrams a day of this SARM, it's pretty potent. It's at least as potent as testosterone, if not more so. Right? Do SARMs have some side effects? Yeah. Do they cause shutdown of your natural production? Yes. It might not be as pronounced as testosterone, but neither is something like Anavar. So when we really start looking at their strength versus side effect ratios and things like HTPA suppression and other stuff, are they really different from some of the milder orals like Anavar and stuff like that, or oral Winstrol or any of those? Are they really tremendously different? I don't think that they are. They have a slightly different legal status. In some cases, people can acquire them legally. All right? It's not any different. It's using gear. It's using an anabolic. It's using steroids. So if a person takes a SARM, they are taking, for all purposes, and I'm talking in terms of side effects, muscle growth, everything else, they are taking an oral anabolic steroid. It just happens to be a legal version because of newer changes in medical technology and current laws. All right. When pro-hormones came out, the same thing happened. And how many natural bodybuilders went and took Superdrol, like Dr. Eric Helms did, admittedly, took Superdrol when it was a pro-hormone, right? Because it came in under the radar because it was listed as a pro-hormone. It is actually just a direct oral anabolic, and it actually turned out later, after it was outlawed, that they actually were finding on studies that it's stronger than most. It is actually one of the strongest ones ever invented. It's stronger than most of the stuff out there. And it is very much a direct anabolic. It's a straight androgen receptor stimulating substance. Binds directly to it in the muscle tissue, just like other oral anabolics do. And it's very potent and very high side effect. But they were still saying, hey, I'm natural because of its current legal status when it was introduced. It was legal. It was over the counter. All right? You need to understand that. Now it's not natural because it was outlawed. SARMs are the same thing. And the problem is that you have all these kids who are running and using them, and there are people who are marketing them to them saying, oh, they're just side effect free. They're not. They're just oral anabolics. They really are. They are the same thing. And I understand that there are biochemical differences that are very, very small. But the effect in the body in terms of what it actually is doing in the body at the receptor level and the side effect level is basically the same thing. It is. So the guys who are like, oh, I'm taking a SARM, you're on steroids. Okay, you're on steroids. That's what it is. Just because it's not super potent and it's not the strongest ones, doesn't mean it's not the same thing. And it still has the same dose-dependent response. But people need to remember the only reason people aren't getting ultra-jacked on some of these is the amounts they're taking. Because they're not taking much. Because a lot of times they're telling people, oh, take 20 milligrams. Or at the most, don't ever go over 30 a day, right? You'll see these websites telling people that. Well, people go over 30 a day all the time on normal anabolics. Way more. We've got YouTubers admitting to 100, 200, 300 milligrams a day. Not 30. Okay? Of the other stuff. These things would produce those insane results also on high doses. But here's the thing. They're expensive. There's a price tag associated with that legal status. Because people are getting them and there's legal loopholes to buy them still, they are insanely expensive. You know, people, that's the reason a lot of people don't use something like Anavar. Not that Anavar is not good. It's low side effect. It's decently good. It's very expensive and it's frequently faked because of the price tag on it. SARMs cost more. So let me put that in perspective. SARMs cost more. Straight up. You go to any of these websites that are selling this stuff to you legally, they cost more. It costs more than the guy at your gym sells Anavar for. I'm just telling you the truth. It is. It's more expensive. So it's not like people are getting this phenomenal deal. It's not like it's, oh, I'm getting this amazing deal. No, you're paying a pretty high premium for the legal status of this. And people are only taking the small amounts because they're being told to take the small amounts. Therefore, it's keeping the side effects a bit more in check because they're not taking a lot. The side effects would be higher if they went more. And because they're prohibitively expensive. But if people don't understand it's the same thing, it is the same thing. And kids who are going out there taking this stuff, you're taking the exact same risk you're taking with a lot of the oral anabolics. It's the same thing. It really is. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.